Hi, I'm Dr. Zoe McGovern, lead clinical psychologist for the Autism Assessment Hub. I'm here today with Kelly. Kelly was previously seen in our service for an assessment in 2022, and we're talking together today about autism in older females who've been diagnosed later in life. Hi, Kelly. So, the first thing I hope we might talk about is if you can think back to when you first had your diagnosis of autism and what your feelings were at that time.
I think when I heard the first words, yes, we can confirm your diagnosis, it felt really surreal. It wasn't that I wasn't expecting it. It's just that feeling within you. I felt almost a little bit numb in a way, bizarrely. But I did feel that as though it was quite surreal, quite a surreal experience. And even though I was expecting it, I didn't quite know how to feel. I think it took me a good few months to sort of process that. I knew it would give me a sense of validation, and I did feel that, but it took some time. It's almost as though it filtered into me. You know, that kind of, okay, well, that's what that was then. So yes, I think it was expected. It was validating, but also at the same time, I didn't quite know what to do with it. I had to sit with it for a little while and kind of almost absorb it. Yeah, so I guess that's how it was pretty initially.
Yeah. And did you share it with friends or family, and what were their responses?
I obviously shared it with my immediate family. It was my daughter that sort of first recognised some signs that may indicate that I was autistic. I shared it with some friends, and they said, "Oh, well, I could have saved you the money for an assessment," which was highly amusing. Thank you for that. So it was a surprise to some people, and not a surprise to others. And I think those people who had, I'm going to say, less positive or affirming kind of reaction to it, probably thought about autism in its typical way that affects or impacts on boys, or is more prevalent in its presentation with boys and men. So I guess the strangest response I received was from a family member who said, "Oh, what's the doctor going to do?" As though it was not a diagnosis or a condition, but an illness, which I found really puzzling. And I said, "Well, the doctor's not going to do anything. You know, this is part of who I am now. Certainly not going to put me down. It's not. You know, it's you know, it's a diagnosis. It's part of who I am. I feel I need to tell you." But mostly positive responses, and I was happy to share with family members and with friends as well.
So when you think back now to childhood or the teenage years, do you kind of understand yourself differently or think about those times differently now?
Absolutely. It's like everything makes sense now. Absolutely everything in my life, from childhood to adolescence to adulthood, relationships, how I present, everything makes sense now. Everything in my life, it's been so affirming. I feel I can be my true, authentic self now. Not everybody wants or needs a diagnosis, but for me personally, it has been life-changing. My anxiety is reduced. I suffered with chronic anxiety every day. And after I got the diagnosis, it was like it dissipated. I felt I understood myself better, and it was truly amazing to get that diagnosis. I just felt like I could be me. Everything made sense. In some ways, I felt a little bit sad that it hadn't been diagnosed earlier, or hadn't known about it earlier. But at the end of the day, not as much was known about how women present with autism. you know, and I've got to bear in mind now I'm in my early 50s. You know, my mum said, oh, you know, she was worried, is it anything I did? I said, no, Mum, it's not like that. You know, it's okay. Perhaps she wanted a bit of reassurance, but no, from my point of view, I was happy to share that information, and everything now about my life makes total sense.
And that must be a great feeling.
It is. It's a massive relief. It's a relief to how I can operate on a daily basis, and it's a relief to think about things in the past that may have been less than ideal. I can forgive myself a little bit more. You know, you often feel guilty about the decisions you make in life, the way you operate, the way, you know, you have relationships. But no, it's been one of the best experiences of my life to be able to, you know, be my own true authentic self.